If you're stuck in that relentless cycle of overthinking, maybe replaying mistakes or imagining worst-case scenarios right when you should be sleeping, well, this deep dive is really going to help you discover, hopefully, a profound sense of inner calm and freedom.
Mm.
Today, we're diving into a powerful truth. It's actually been understood for centuries, but it often feels, revolutionary in our busy modern lives.
Right.
And that truth is, you are not your thoughts. We've gathered some incredible insights from ancient wisdom like Stoicism and Buddhism, and we've combined that with cutting-edge modern psychology. Think cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT.
Yeah, great stuff.
The goal, to help you create that crucial mental distance from your inner chatter. Our mission for this deep dive is really to equip you with the understanding and also the practical tools to shift from being controlled by your thoughts to becoming the calm observer of them.
And that feeling you just described, it's incredibly common, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine it's 3 a.m., your brain is suddenly wide awake, just fixating on some embarrassing moment from, I don't know, last week's meeting.
Well, yeah, been there.
Or maybe spiraling into worries about a deadline that's still days away. Rationally, you kind of know these aren't concrete facts, right?
Logically, yes.
But in that moment, they feel incredibly real, urgent, convincing. And the core problem, I think, is that we so often get pulled into the drama of these thoughts, especially the negative ones.
Right.
We end up feeling like we are them instead of just having them.
That distinction feels key.
It really is. And what's truly fascinating here is how universal this struggle is. It's not just, a personal quirk. It's a deep-seated human tendency.
Yeah.
We tend to over-identify with that constant inner monologue, that voice commenting on everything.
Everything.
Yeah, from your outfit to your life choices. Now, sometimes it can be useful, right, for planning or problem solving.
Sure.
But often it's hypercritical or just riddled with anxiety. And the research, it highlights this beautifully. One psychology writer points out that something like 80% of our thoughts are negative and 95% repetitive.
Wow, 80% negative. That's a lot.
It is. But listen, this isn't a sign of personal failure. It's actually our brain's ancient negativity bias at work. It's an evolutionary holdover, designed to keep us safe by constantly scanning for threats.
Okay, so our brains are essentially wired to worry and sort of repeat the same loops. But what happens when we maybe lean into that wire a little too much?
Exactly. That's where the real trouble begins, is when we fuse with these thoughts.
Fuse.
Yeah, fuse. We accept them as absolute truth, or we allow them to define our identity. So when your mind says, I'm a failure, and you take that thought at face value,
You believe it.
you believe it. And it can quickly spiral into genuine distress, even if the reality is, far less dire. And this raises a really important question. Why do we so easily identify with these thoughts to begin with?
Yeah, why do we?
Well, part of it, naturally, is that they arise in our own mind, right? In our own voice, so they feel intrinsically us.
Makes sense?
And plus, many of us were just never taught to see thoughts as mere mental events. We just assume if a thought appears, it must be important or worse, true. It's almost like, we're born without an owner's manual for our own minds.
And ironically, it seems like our best efforts to solve this problem, thinking our way out of it, often make it worse.
Oh, absolutely. That attempt to think our way out of emotional pain often keeps us utterly stuck.
Mm-hmm.
As one author observes, we ruminate on negative experiences, hoping to understand our pain more clearly and maybe make it magically disappear. But it usually backfires.
How so?
Well, the more negative or painful an experience, the more we return to it. It's almost like, the author says, vultures to a carcass. We're drawn to what hurts. Our mind's intense focus on analyzing and fixing emotional discomfort by overthinking it, it usually just amplifies the suffering. It creates this feedback loop of distress.
Okay, so that paints a pretty clear picture of the problem. Many of us find ourselves wrestling with this, but if we're not our thoughts, what are we? And how do we actually begin to detach from that constant internal narrative?
Right, that's the pivot. The core idea, which we'll unpack now, is that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts.
The observer.
The observer. Think of it less like a fight you need to win against your mind and more like standing on the shore watching waves crash and recede.
Okay.
Or looking up as clouds drift across the sky. Your thoughts, they arise and pass away, but you remain. You're the steady, unchanging observer on the shore, or maybe the vast open sky itself.
That's a powerful image.
It is. And this realization that the voice in your head is simply a mental event you can watch impartially, That's a profound and honestly truly liberating step toward mental freedom.
What I find so fascinating about this is, it sounds so contemporary, so rooted in modern psychology maybe, but it really isn't new at all, is it? It seems our ancestors were onto something.
They absolutely were. It's fascinating how ancient wisdom arrived at this exact same insight millennia ago. Over 2,000 years ago, you had Stoic philosophers teaching remarkably similar techniques. They aimed to create space from what they called impressions.
Impressions, okay.
Yeah, Epictetus, for example, he advised, don't let the force of an impression carry you away. Say to it, hold on, let me see what you really are.
Huh. So challenge it.
Kind of. It wasn't about suppressing thoughts, but more about encouraging a healthy skepticism, urging you to test your thoughts instead of immediately believing them as, absolute truth.
So it's about pausing before reacting,
Yeah.
like a mental speed bump.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. The Stoics fundamentally understood that while we can't control the initial appearance of a thought, they just pop up,
Yeah.
we can control our response to it.
Right.
They famously believed people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them.
I think I've heard that one.
It's classic. Spill coffee on your shirt. It's not the coffee itself creating the suffering. It's your thought. This is a disaster. I'm so clumsy. My day is ruined. That's what creates the distress. And Seneca, another prominent Stoic, observed, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. A powerful reminder of how our minds just invent fears and catastrophic scenarios that often never materialize.
So true.
So Stoicism actively encouraged cultivating this observer mindset. You watch your thoughts and emotions with a deliberate, almost dispassionate detachment. Their mantra can almost be, you're the observer, not the observed.
Observer, not the observed. I like that.
And if we connect this to the broader picture, you see Eastern philosophies, particularly Buddhism, echoing this insight with remarkable precision.
Okay.
Well, mindfulness meditation, for instance, is built entirely on this practice. Observing thoughts without grasping them or getting entangled, seeing them as transient phenomena, just like those clouds we mentioned.
Ah, the clouds again.
Yeah. A meditation teacher might gently remind you, a thought is just a thought, not a fact. So when a self-critical thought like I'm worthless arises, the practice isn't to fight it, but simply to note it. There's a self-critical thought passing by. And then gently let it drift, without judgment, without engagement.
Just letting it go.
Letting it go. And modern spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle also emphasize that profound freedom truly emerges the moment you realize that incessant voice in your head is not, in fact, you.
That's a really profound connection across time and different cultures. It sort of begs the question, though, how exactly does modern psychology take these ancient intuitions and, ground them in science? What's the mechanism actually at play here?
That's a fantastic question. And what I find truly astounding is just how directly modern psychotherapy builds on these ancient insights. Much of today's effective therapy aims to help people gain that very perspective on their thoughts.
Like CBT.
Exactly. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, it directly draws on Epictetus's insight that our emotions are largely shaped by our interpretations of events. CBT therapists help clients meticulously examine their negative thoughts, challenging them, testing their accuracy, almost like a scientist running an experiment.
Right.
And it's no coincidence that psychologist Albert Ellis, one of the pioneers of an early form of CBT, was apparently known to quote Epictetus directly.
Wow. Okay, so that's CBT. What about ACT? You mentioned that earlier.
Right. Acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, it explicitly focuses on what it calls cognitive fusion.
Fusion, right, getting stuck.
Yeah, getting completely entangled in your thoughts, treating them as undeniable reality versus cognitive diffusion, which is the process of stepping back and creating distance.
Diffusion.
An ACT exercise might involve imagining your thoughts appearing on, say, parade floats, or as leaves floating down a stream, or even writing them on sticky notes, placing them on your forehead, then slowly removing them. The goal isn't to suppress or argue with these thoughts.
Just to see them differently.
Exactly, to stop believing them unquestioningly. And a remarkably simple yet powerful ACT technique is just to preface a distressing thought with, I'm having the thought that I'm stupid.
Instead of I am stupid.
Precisely. That small semantic tweak immediately creates distance. It reminds you that you are the observer of the thought, separate from its content.
I've heard of that. It sounds almost too simple to be effective.
Yeah.
Does the research actually back up these kinds of distancing techniques?
It absolutely does. And that's a fair question. Does this actually work in practice?
Yeah.
The answer from modern research is a pretty resounding yes.
Okay.
Psychologist Ethan Kross and his team, for instance, conducted some fascinating research. They demonstrated that talking to oneself in the third person, using your own name, helps people cope significantly better with stress and anxiety.
Using your own name. Like,
Okay.
Bob, calm down.
Kind of like that, yeah. Those who use their own name, saying something like, okay, your name, you're feeling anxious right now, which is okay, they showed reduced emotional reactivity. It's almost as if you're coaching yourself from an objective standpoint.
Huh.
It makes it feel less like your overwhelming problem and more like something a wise friend is helping you navigate.
So it's not just a mental trick then. It has a measurable impact on the brain.
Precisely. Brain scans actually confirm that this simple distancing strategy can quiet down the brain's alarm centers, reducing the intensity of emotional responses.
That's incredible.
It is. And this ability to observe your own thoughts, to step back and reflect on your thinking processes, that's what psychologists call metacognition.
Metacognition. Thinking about thinking.
You got it. Thinking about your thinking. And it's a hallmark of high emotional intelligence and resilience. It allows you to navigate stress and complex situations more effectively because you're not caught in the immediate, often irrational grip of your thoughts. It elevates you from just being a reactive participant to being, well, a thoughtful, strategic commander of your own mind.
Okay, so we've covered the philosophy, the science, the deep historical connections. Really fascinating stuff. But what does this all mean for you, the listener, in your daily life? In the middle of a busy workday or a restless night, how can you actually do this? Not just understand it conceptually.
Right. That's the crucial next step, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the good news is we've got some practical strategies. It's a potent blend, really, of that ancient wisdom and these cutting-edge modern techniques, things you can start applying, right away.
Okay, let's hear them.
With consistent practice, these techniques will help you respond to your thoughts and feelings calmly and intentionally, rather than just reactively. Number 1, pause and observe. The very moment you notice an intense thought or feeling bubble up that familiar anxiety, maybe frustration or self-doubt, just take a deliberate deep breath.
Just pause.
Just pause. Don't engage with the thought immediately. Instead, become a witness. Silently describe what's happening, almost like a neutral reporter. Okay, I notice my heart is racing and I'm having the thought that I can't handle this. This simple act creates a crucial space between the stimulus, the thought, and your response. That's that profound moment where you regain choice, like Viktor Frankl famously talked about.
That initial pause feels like the hardest part, though, especially when you're really caught in the moment.
It does feel difficult at first, absolutely, because our default is to react. But that pause, even if it's just for a second, that's the crack where freedom enters. It really is.
Okay, pause and observe. What's next?
Number 2, label your thoughts. This is that diffusion technique we mentioned from ACT.
Right, I'm having the thought that...
Exactly. Instead of thinking, I am stupid, practice saying, I am having the thought that I'm stupid. Or maybe, I am having the feeling that I am overwhelmed. This subtle semantic tweak, it's surprisingly powerful. It immediately reinforces that it's an experience you're having, a mental event, not your inherent identity.
Okay.
And, to truly rob it of its power, you can even try imagining the thought being spoken in a goofy cartoon voice.
Chuckles slightly. Seriously.
Seriously. Or sing it to a tune like Happy Birthday. It sounds silly, but it's a playful way to disarm its seriousness. Takes the wind out of its sails.
That's a fun trick. Okay, what about when you're really in the thick of it, like maybe a high-stakes meeting or a tough conversation?
For those high-stakes moments, number 3, use third-person self-talk. This is incredibly effective.
The one using your name.
That's the one. When you feel overwhelmed, address yourself by name. Okay, your name, you're feeling upset about that feedback right now. What's a helpful way for you to handle this? It might feel awkward, maybe even a bit silly at first.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it powerfully tricks your brain into accessing a broader, more objective perspective. You're literally coaching yourself like a wise friend would, just without all the emotional entanglement. It's like your brain's own little hack to bypass the immediate emotional circuits.
Okay, coaching yourself like a friend. Got it. What else?
Number 4. Mindfulness meditation. This is really foundational because it directly trains your observer muscle.
How did that work in practice?
During meditation, when thoughts inevitably pop up, and they will pop up, you simply note them, maybe label them gently, thinking, planning, judging, and then you gently return your focus to your breath.
Without getting annoyed that you got distracted.
Exactly, no judgment. This repeated practice of noting and letting go strengthens your ability to experience a thought without reacting to it, without getting dragged into its whole story. And in daily life, this translates to an easier ability to just notice, oh, hello there, random anxious thought, and watch it drift by without getting hooked.
So it's not about clearing your mind, which feels impossible sometimes, but about changing how you relate to what's in your mind.
Precisely. That's the core of it. And finally, number 5, reality check and reframe. Once you've taken that step back, use that pause, you gain the clarity to ask, is this thought 100% true?
Good question.
Is there another way to look at this situation? Because our thoughts are often distorted by our emotions, right? Especially when we're feeling vulnerable. So if you think, I totally blew the presentation, or reality check might reveal, okay, well, I stumbled on a few points maybe, but I got through it. And actually, I connected really well on the Q&A. I've definitely improved since my last one.
Finding the nuance.
Exactly. And here's a powerful trick. Imagine what you'd say to a close friend in the exact same situation. You'd likely offer a kinder, more objective, more supportive perspective, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably.
So apply that same compassionate objectivity to yourself. It's not about sugarcoating reality, but about ensuring your internal narrative is fair and rational, not just driven purely by emotion.
Okay, those are some really concrete, actionable strategies. Pause, label, use third-person talk, mindfulness, and reality check. So, bringing it all together, what does this really mean for you, the listener, going forward?
Well, I think the big message is that cultivating this mental distance, it isn't about never having negative thoughts again. I mean, that's impossible, right?
Right, that would be nice, but yeah, impossible.
It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with those thoughts.
Your relationship to them.
Exactly. Think of unhelpful thoughts like unsolicited advisory emails in your inbox. You don't have to open, read, or believe every single one.
Yuckles. I like that.
Some you can just mark as spam and move on, without guilt, without engagement. And the idea you are not your thoughts is just profoundly liberating because it means that cruel voice in your head, it doesn't get to define your worth. Even if your mind is screaming, everything is hopeless, there's a deeper, wiser, calmer part of you that knows it's not truly as dire as the thought pretends.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and this profound realization implies you contain thoughts and emotions, but you also contain the inherent freedom to choose your response to them.
The space to choose.
The space to choose. As one but they do not describe me. Because I think or feel anxious, that doesn't mean that I am anxious. It means I am experiencing the symptoms of anxiety, not that I am anxiety itself.
Wow. That's a huge shift.
Huge. By observing with distance, she stopped identifying with the anxiety and became an observer, not a slave to her internal experiences.
That's incredibly powerful. So for our action challenge today, thinking about everything we've discussed, what's one small step our listeners can take, maybe starting right now?
Okay, the action challenge is simple but potent. Just start small. The very next time you catch your mind racing with a negative story, whether it's the I'm not good enough thought or this situation is completely doomed, just try to take a deliberate mental step back.
Just one step back.
One step back. Remind yourself. This is just one voice, one perspective, one angle. It's not the ultimate truth of who you are or what's happening. Maybe even internally say to yourself, okay, here's that familiar worried voice in my head. I know this pattern. I'm going to take a breath and not automatically jump to conclusions or believe everything I hear from it.
And by doing that, just taking that small step, you instantly start to disempower the thought and empower yourself instead.
That's it.
And over time, with consistent practice, you'll likely find you bounce back from setbacks faster, you ride out those emotional waves with more stability, and you experience a profound sense of inner peace that maybe felt elusive before. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate thoughts entirely, but to radically change your relationship with them, moving from one of maybe fear and entanglement to one of freedom and choice. You can learn to hear your thoughts without always believing them. And with that perspective comes not only peace, but also the clarity and the power to choose actions and attitudes that genuinely align with your true values, rather than just being driven by every single mental whim or worry.
Well said.
So remember, you are the thinker, not the thought. And that simple yet profound realization, well, it really can fundamentally change your life.